gently flowing river. They watch the golden sunset fade away, and there amid the lilies and the roses, they talk about their future wedding day. The nightingale is singing as they leave her, but tears are glistening in her eyes of blue. Her softly says, "'Tis not for..."
What occupations have you held in your life?
I don't think you have the recordings long enough.
Yeah.
Draftsman, preliminary road designer, administrative assistant, programmer, systems analyst, engineering change supervisor, engineering manufacturing, manufacturing troubleshooter, General Motors troubleshooter at corporate office, tires and wheels, non-ferrous metals, construction, production control, packaging engineering. I needed a job after my son was born, because if I didn't work, we didn't eat. And I'd take a typing and a shorthand test in all of them to get an interview. What I want is a job in programming or systems, or both. I finally got to GM. I got past all of that with GM, and they said, "I think you ought to talk to the head of HR." Well, he made me wait 15 minutes. He came in, and I'll never forget that man. Templed his fingers, rolled himself back in his chair, and said, "Mrs. Lapidot, why do you reject your job as a mother?" I damn near went across the desk at him. I said, "I'll tell you what, if I don't work, my kids live in a tent and we don't eat. I think I'm doing my job." All he needed was a pushback. He said, "Well, the guy head of programming and systems is a youngster. He's a GMI graduate, and he's younger than you. Let's see if he'll talk to you." I got the job. I talked my way into more damn jobs than I had a background for. Today you can't do that, because if you don't have one of the things on the list in the computer, you get rejected no matter how qualified you might be. If you don't speak Yugoslavian, okay? Now, I've done all of this with no degree, all right?
I rode the horse of technology in an interesting time. In an interesting time. My father helped electrify New Hampshire. I flew satellites. That's quite a quantum leap in just 2 generations.
I think that as technology escalated into, various areas of like planes and cars and, and even mass transit, I mean, that things became used, and maybe they became then abused. Instead of being used for just mainly basic human need, they became used for such luxury.
We never had the best car. We never had a new car. And he would pick up some of these jitneys. We called them jitneys. And but there was always some kind of a motor to jump into.
I began my office career on a manual typewriter with 8 carbon copies. And always my boss would find an error at 5 o'clock and say, "Redo it."
On technology, I remember very well the first airplane I ever saw was an old Ford tri-motor. I don't know, would you have any idea what that was? Had one motor in the front and a couple out here on the wings. It was really high-tech stuff.
But we never drove far distances. We had a very simple lifestyle. We seldom could go long distances, just intentionally, because we didn't have the money to do it. Families all lived closer together in the village, and people got to know their neighbors very deeply, and caring for each other. I mean, there was definitely, that is one of the things is that I noticed in growing up. Any person that was ill, the people of the village took care of them. Or if there were children in need, like myself, there was always care. If it didn't come out of the sisters at the school, it came out of, neighbors who knew me and loved me and took care of me,
The millennial generation and the younger generation now are growing up not knowing how to have this kind of conversation.
In our day, in our childhood, I mean, you never swore. You never said swear words. That was really naughty.
As my kids were taught, and I was taught, that if someone came in your house, if someone came to see you, or see my mother, or stepdad, or my brothers, you always spoke to them. I mean, if you come in, you didn't just go to your room or do whatever you wanted to do and never speak. I think that we've lost the closeness of family. It was just closer. We had television, but there was no television while we were at the table because that was our time to discuss what had happened that day.
And to tell the truth, some of the technology now, I want to vomit on it. I see young couples having dinner together and they're working on their damn phones. They're not even talking to each other. And you don't see a teenager walking down the street, just walking down the street. They've got their phone in front of them and they're checking their mail or they're texting and they're texting while they're driving, which is crazy. It's just a different time period.
My pet peeve. And I said, I'm not at that table, so I don't worry about it. I said I would never date anybody who was on his computer or unless he was a doctor or somebody on call. I mean, we can't sit and hold conversation. Why bother go out to dinner with somebody?
A lot of them hooked into the iTop, what do you call it, iPad, and all these books and all that other kind of thing, And you can see mom, dad, sibling going to the restaurant, one right behind the other, and each one got the damn iPad, And you wonder, when do people get a chance to relate to each other?
We have 4 grandchildren. All of them, by the time they were 2, were more technically competent than I was. And and the sad part is I've got one of my grandsons he would spend 26 hours a day playing Minecraft.
How do you think technology is affecting our young people as they grow up with it?
They can't visit each other. You go someplace and here they have all their little. My great granddaughter came up with her little computer. She's 2 years old, showing me how to run a computer. And most of the kids can't think for themselves. They depend on pushing buttons, and that's not good. Buttons are wonderful, and the technology is great, I think. But it's scary to think that what would happen if the electricity went off. What would our young people do? They can't add 2 and 2.
My kids were so excited when I sent them a text. They just thought that was like I had won Miss America or something like that. They couldn't believe, Mom's texting! Yay! But that's the end of it.
Yeah.
I was at her home one time and I said, I want to figure out how to get on textbook. She said, Dad, let me show you 2 things. And she showed me a couple of buttons and I was on Facebook. And the nice thing about that, it's good and bad, obviously. I think people expose so much of their lives that they don't even know they're exposing with this new stuff. But I share pictures of, and I have things of other people that are shared with me and things that are important in my life.
Okay, why do I want to put my stuff on Facebook so the whole world knows about it? Okay, so here's the difference between me and the younger generation, because that's what they do all the time.
Right.
And they put something on there and it goes viral, Well, I don't want any of my stuff to go viral.
And it is just the culture we're in. And people talk about the wonderful thing about the information that flows now.
And I guess it's wonderful. Sometimes it looks like people are saying things that they probably wish they hadn't. But see, that's the opinion of an older person. So it is what it is.
Her brother is 13, he'll be 13 next month, and he has autism and Down syndrome, and he doesn't talk. So he uses the computer to talk. They've tried everything. They've tried the flashcards. They've tried sign language, and he doesn't focus well enough to, but he'll know what button to push to make a certain game that he wants to listen to or music that he wants to hear. He knows how, he'll push the buttons till he gets to the one he wants.
I had a client a couple of years ago who was engaged to a woman, and he broke up with her with a text message, and she committed suicide. And that's the reason he came in to see me. And I thought, at the time I thought, how could anyone even consider doing anything like that? And we did some work together and helped him kind of get on. But as I have told that story to other people, and I say, well, sure, that's just normal. That's just what we do. And not the killing yourself, but of course, what would be wrong with breaking up with a text message? And to me, it's incomprehensible.
I get concerned of the nuclear power and the different missiles and that sort of thing that they now have knowledge, and that concerns me. If our technology is used in the right way, I think it's fantastic. But I think oftentimes it can cause a lot of damage to our lifestyle.
The weapons of war escalate in power and destruction, and there's no such thing anymore as just war. I mean, once nuclear weapons came into being and once bombing from the skies happened, I watched all that. That has all become, a technology that for me is evil.
Well, we're beginning to be a fearful society. When I was growing up, we didn't have to worry about people coming in and robbing you or stealing or anything like that. We never locked our doors.
Well, I was always one of those people who felt like I was not going to let technology control my life. You don't have to let technology control your life, but somewhere along the way, you're going to have to control it.
I think you personally and the job that you're doing is important, again, because you will gain from the past. And I've always said what you put out there is what you're going to get back in the future. I think it will make you think of what progress is, in every area of life, what progress really is and how it's going to affect you as a person. Basically, that's it.
Can you tell me what you think of the typewriter?
It's cool because you type, and when it types, it goes typing and the words and the letters come up.
You didn't play with the typewriter before, right?
I've never played with